I told you this is a fifth generation. I added a while, and I got question marks by there. But I think this is the fifth generation. I'd love any of your comments back. Anybody ever read the book called Blue Zone by Dan Buettner? Okay. We try to get him as a speaker here, by the way. Maybe we'll get him one time. He's a great speaker, and I listened to him about 4 years ago, and I was very impressed, but it took me about 2 years to see the market actually developing around some of his concepts, which is what his core is my fifth generation. So if you haven't read a book called Blue Zone, please go get it. Download it on your Kindle. It's a great read, great information for your employees. What fifth generation is it gets away from you and me, that personalized, sort of self-centered healthcare, which I think the fourth generation can provide real value. And it gets into how do we deal not with health so much as longevity, productive longevity. And how do we work together as a community? How do we share experiences? How do we share our knowledge? Because you don't get to see a doctor but a few minutes when you go in there, right? But you go home and you got neighbors, relatives, friends that you talk to. How many people ever heard of Caring Bridge? Anybody ever been on Caring Bridge? All right. I just had a niece passed away from stage 4 melanoma a couple weeks ago. She fought it for about 15 months. First time I became aware of Caring Bridge. It's a great site. For those of you who haven't been involved with it, you go on there and you tell your story. You share it with others. There's a great value in both the patient sharing their story and their journey of dealing with their illness, and with family members and friends following that, praying for them, supporting them in any way they can. Because you don't want to interfere with their treatments, and so you want to help them. Everybody wants to help, but you don't want to go over and visit them because then they feel they got to clean up their place, and they don't have the energy to do that. You know, and so you want to let them know how you care, and Caring Bridge is a great vehicle to do that. You can respond back. If they need meals because they're too sick to make meals, they can put a calendar up there. You can put a visitation. You can do all sorts of stuff there to help in any way you can. And it's a way of using the new social media out there to deal with it. And that's part of what I think is part of both the fourth and the fifth generation. I love some of the terms that Blue Zone has, so I pulled them into here. Down here with this, what I think is the weakest part of consumerism is this information support, which is also called what? Health literacy. If you're thinking about taking a test, remember health literacy. Friendship pods, wise men, sharing circles. I'll give you a quick story of how this book was developed and why it's called Blue Zone. You remember why it's called Blue Zone? Dan Buettner got a grant from National Geographic, as I recall. And his charge was to go around the world and find where cultures lived an unusually long life, where they had a lot of people actually above age 100. And he found several, and you might be able to help me because I can't always remember all of them. One was Sardinia, one was Costa Rica, one was Okinawa. There were 5 of them. The other one was Long Beach, California, and I can't ever remember the last one. Anyway, he went to these cultures, and he found commonalities among them around how people and why people live long. An awful large part of it is almost back to the third generation, how people dealt with stress. If you have friends, neighbors, what they called friendship pods, wise men, wise women, sharing circles, where you had people you trusted, you could sit down and talk about life's problems and issues, you can deal with it. I've got a lot of information in the charts there, but for example, even in the personal care counts, I kind of extrapolated from his book because he didn't have this in there in the same sort of format sort of that I'm doing. But instead of financial accounts that we've been talking about, maybe it's different types of accounts that you start to actually, and you'll see this, people sharing frequent flyer points. Somebody's sick, they want to go someplace, get time off, take a vacation, go to Las Vegas, you know, relax. You got to go treatment to MD Anderson, here's some frequent flyer points. So you have volunteer vessels instead of accounts. You're paying forward, and you're using more charitable giving. And you get down to incentives and rewards. You know what? Anybody who's taken Psychology 101 knows that Maslow's hierarchy, and after a while, you can't incentivize people with more and more money. So at some point, that extrinsic reward incentive has to become intrinsic. It has to be more psychic rewards, recognition, honor, respect, and love, so that you know you're being appreciated. So anyway, so that's the fifth generation.